Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of year again. It's time for a very massive YouTuber to volunteer as tribute and die on their sword defending Loli. Why do we do this? I don't know. I don't make the rules. It just happens at least once a year. So I stumbled across this tweet the other day. Fuck it, I'm making a Loli defense video today. Already been canceled, had hundreds of thousands of death threats and false accusations. I have nothing to lose, and I will not stop speaking up for freedom of expression within artwork. Now, I was not familiar with Chibi Reviews before seeing this, but it did pique my curiosity, to say the least. So I moseyed on over to YouTube and found Chibi Reviews has basically 500,000 subscribers. Very, very large YouTuber, at least by my standards. And we see here, the title of the video is Lolicons are weird and need to be jailed, in like ironic quotation marks. This was posted on April 1st, but insofar as I can tell, it is not a joke. This would be a very interesting April Fool's joke if it turned out to be that. Let's take a look at what Chibi has to say.
I'm going to catch a lot of heat for this video and probably receive hundreds of thousands of death threats for even making a video discussing lolis and even trying to defend lolis, but we're going to get right into it because I've already faced death threats, I've already faced slander, false accusations, people doxing me, sending me stuff in the mail, all sorts of horrific stuff for my stances on fictional content. So, you know what? Screw it. I'm not going to bow down and bend the knee. I'm going to just straight up get into what needs to be said. And so this is a post that crossed my feed today by Real Schlep. Now, you might not know who this is, but there is a very high chance you do. This individual is someone that is very well known for being a pred catcher. They are someone that makes their entire channel around catching predators on Roblox and different forms of the internet, as you can see here. However, what really shocks me is that an individual that has their entire career based around being a predator catcher is someone that cannot separate fiction from reality.
What? Interested to see if he unpacks this a little bit more. I don't want to just go on a tangent just about that. I mean, obviously, the problem with Lolicon to the normal person's brain is that it's not a separation of fiction from reality because the reality is the sexualization of minors. The fact that the minors are fictionalized doesn't really have any bearing on what is widely just considered to be an immoral act, all right?
That is what really blew me away when I saw this post today and the amount of damage that this post and this individual is going to cause to actual real people and victims out there and allow criminals to actually get away.
Okay, I really hope he dives into that claim. So being anti-Loli is actually harming children. All right. I assume he's going to explain that point, because that's a wild statement.
And so let's just get right into this. So first off, let's address the elephant in the room, which is what Schlep is talking about. He's talking about how lolis are basically, if you like lolis, you defend lolis, you're a PDF. That's what he is pretty much saying in this post. So this is actually insane. And this gets into the topic of what I just talked about, that it's really horrible that someone that dedicates their entire career and like presence online to actually go after criminals would actually compare a drawing to actually real victims. That's what's so disrespectful. And let me explain why this is a problem. So first off, you are a police officer in, you know, the office at the county sheriff office or whatever, and you only have a certain amount of officers. Let's say there's 30 or 50 officers within the police office. You receive a call that apparently someone is harming someone, and you take this call, you take it very seriously because it's your job. So you go and investigate, and when you go and investigate whatever's going on, you come to find out it's actually just a drawing. It's a pixel on the screen. It's nothing. There's nobody being hurt, no victims, nothing. It is just entirely a drawing on the screen. And I don't think I really need to outline why this is a problem, but all this does is it stalls police from being able to actually catch real criminals and help victims be able to recover. It really just actually overloads the system, and it causes a limited amount of resources to be used for false calls.
What? Wait, what? I have never once called the police about a drawing. I've never heard of anyone who's ever done that. In fact, I've never even encountered Loli out in the wild. What are people like stapling Loli to telephone poles or something? And if I did come across that, I'd just take it down. In what world are child endangerment police departments getting swamped because people are blowing up their phone about wild Loli on the loose. I don't think that has ever been a thing. All right, let me run that back. Just make sure I'm hearing that right. Yeah, okay. I just listened back to make sure I was hearing that right. I mean, the hypothetical he poses is a police officer in a physical building is called about a crime and he goes and shows up somewhere and it's just a drawing. I don't think that's a very common occurrence. I'm gonna be real with you. Now, if I were to steelman his argument, maybe you could say, child endangerment hotlines get blown up and it's just people reporting that like someone posted Loli to Tumblr or something like that. And that's sucking, resources that could be used in better areas. But I don't think that steelman works particularly well either because people are investigated by the police and the FBI all the time for red flag behavior. And I'd be hard pressed to think of a more red flag behavior than blatant sexualization of Dren online.
All this does is it stalls police from being able to actually catch real criminals and help victims be able to recover.
This is just like a non sequitur point. What do you mean? Police aren't helping victims recover. That's like a whole different thing. Police officers aren't like sitting down and having therapy sessions with he just this sounds like someone who's never like interacted with the real human world. And I'm beginning to think that might be the case, actually.
Now, look, I'm just gonna outright say it. If you find lolis and stuff weird, completely fine. I think there is nothing wrong with someone thinking it's weird, bizarre, whatever. You don't want to associate with people like that. Fine. That's completely fine. It's well within your right to do that. However, you cross a line when you start calling people accusations that aren't true. For instance, you calling them a PDF, or you start comparing a drawing or a pixel to an actual living, breathing human. There is a very hard line there that is crossed when someone does that. And all it does is water things down and makes the entire conversation very muddy to where now when you have a conversation around stuff like this, like if someone's a PDF or not, what it comes down to is like, are they talking about a real person or are they talking about a drawing?
Hey, big guy, is there anybody in there? No? Fuck, I guess I'll come back later. We're talking about someone who has a sexual interest in kids. How is that hard to grasp? Well, no kids were harmed. Okay, you want to say that? Fine. I can still call you evil. I still think you're evil. And I still think that the difference between someone who's interested in fictional kids and real kids is relatively thin. A PDF doesn't become a PDF the second that they actually commit a crime. They were a PDF when they had the intention for it. And I think to most normal people, again, getting satisfaction out of Loli is having the intention of it, having the interest. It puts you in the same category.
And when you have something like this brought up into a conversation, it's already bad. And it's happening. It is something that has definitely grown exponentially in the last 5 to 6 years to where the conversation around this entire topic has been muddied and just tampered with to the point to where people don't take it as seriously anymore because people cannot separate fiction from reality. And all they have done is actually help criminals get away with stuff.
You don't see any correlation. You don't see any correlation here.
And in fact, most of the time when people are this adamant about Loli content that are basically saying it is the equivalent of actual real people, most of the time from what I have seen, they turn out to be some form of a problem or a criminal themselves, or they have skeletons in the closet.
I understand the concept of projection and virtue signaling, but almost everyone is anti-Loli. By your logic, everybody except the Loli people are PDFs? I mean, if we're talking about muddying up the situation and watering it down, that feels like that would do that a lot more.
Once again, you know what this makes me look at? His entire channel? It makes me look at, it's not about actually bringing justice to people to catch actual criminals. It's about making a profit and making money off of it. And look, yeah, how can you not view it like that? This person clearly doesn't potentially care about children if he's willing to water down terms to this degree. That's what it looks like. It's not a good look. It's not. And I feel like this is just such a shameful thing to do. That being said, I will say, I will always have the stance to protect fictional content. I have been very adamant about this for a very long time, and no amount of death threats, doxings, people trying to scare me off the internet, slandering my name, false accusations, whatever, nothing along that lines is going to make me stop talking about what I believe in and how people have a right to express themselves in art and also within literature. And basically, if people are going this hard after, let's say, Loli content, why aren't they going hard after Game of Thrones? There is some very crazy stuff within Game of Thrones' books, by the way, that have actual characters that are technically not 18 plus within it.
Yeah, and it's controversial. It's very controversial. Look, there's room for discussion on, where the line is on stuff. Some media is very controversial. But I think the solution is to actually have conversations about what is and is not appropriate in media, all right? There's a spectrum of what is considered within the Overton window of acceptability. Lolicon's pretty far on the other end of the spectrum. Okay, I could come out with a book series tomorrow. Hey guys, I wrote a book. It's called The Rape Chronicles of Narnia. It's about a group of 4 siblings who go around a magical fantasy land raping people, all right? That would be controversial, because obviously portraying something is one thing, but creating the work, the purpose of which is the vicarious value of something quite immoral, to most people is going to be questionable.
There's a lot of hypocrisy. There's a lot of people only playing one side and not understanding, and they're picking and choosing what's a problem or not because they just don't like it. And at the end of the day, they don't really care about actual victims or people getting harmed. They're all in it for a profit or being able to make brownie points and clout and everything about that. That's basically what they're doing. And I'm just going to say it like it is, guys. I would make a lot more money, and I would have a lot more sponsorships if I straight up just said Loli is bad. I would. I'm just going to be blunt.
He's acting like APAC is handing out checks for YouTubers to make anti-Lolicon videos. It's not really that deep. It's just most people consider this material to be immoral. Just poll your average person, all right? There's no big conspiracy behind it. Most people consider this shit to be fucked up.
I would make so much more money, and I would be deemed less problematic to work with or anyone to talk with me if I just straight up went against it.
Probably, yeah. Probably so, yeah. But that's just because it is vomit-inducing to most people that you hold that view, not because there's some sort of grand structural thing in place, some secret Illuminati trying to censor Lolicon. It's just fucked up. Has that ever occurred to you? Maybe it's just fucked up?
But I won't, because I'm willing to separate, and I see the difference between fiction and reality. I know there's a big difference, and trying to say they're the same hurts real people. And I feel like that is so horrible to do to people, actual people that have went through stuff.
I guess Chibi Reviews is like the hub for people who think this way. Officer, that's him. The man that touched the pixels. How about we focus on actual issues? Yeah, there really only is like one defense here, and it's not a very good one. See, everyone seems to get behind this straw man that if you think this is bad, it means you don't think anything else is bad. When you get to that level, you're in some pretty hard, you're into some pretty hard copium. Virtue signaling over fiction tells me all I need to know about this person. Maybe he should spend some time going after the grooming gangs in the UK. See, again, it's like they have like the same few things they go back to. What, you care about this? Well, maybe you should spend less time caring about this bad thing and more time caring about this other bad thing. You're so evil for caring about this bad thing. That clearly means you don't care about the other bad thing. Ah, yes, predator found with bread in their fridge. Therefore, all bread eaters are predators. They're trying to make the case that all the detractors here are basically making the Hitler had a dog argument. It's not a Hitler had a dog argument. It's a Hitler had a gas chamber argument, all right? Most people would see a direct correlation between Loli and you know what. Well, anyway, I disagree. So, that's me.